Welcome back to Sex and Space. I'm Toshi, and today we're very excited to be bringing you another episode with the wonderful Cindy Gallop. Cindy first joined us on the podcast back in 2023 to talk about her site, MakeLoveNotPorn, which is the world's first user-generated, human-curated social sex sharing platform. And if you're keen to listen to that episode, you can find it on our channel. Today, however, Cindy was back to talk with us about a different project she's been working on for the last 10 years, MakeLoveNotPorn Academy, which she wants to be the global go-to for the best sex education content. Let's get into the episode.
And hello to Cindy. Good morning. Oh, what time is it with you today?
Actually, it's the afternoon here in New York, so good afternoon.
A beautiful city that you are in.
Absolutely.
And for those of you that don't know Cindy, you need to check out our last podcast together, where we talked about the evolution of her incredible website, Make Love Not Porn. And you can see the T-shirt for those of you who are watching this rather than listening. Many of our listeners will not know there's a big red heart with MakeLoveNotPorn.com written on it. And so go check that out if you haven't before. But today we've invited Cindy back to talk about, I guess, it's not a new project, it's the evolution of this project, right, Cindy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and actually, before we started this today, we hopped online and made a little contribution to the project because there's fundraising going on. So we'll talk about that later and ask you all to please help out this important work. But Cindy, tell us what you're up to.
Sure. So first of all, delighted to be back having this conversation, Jane. So I'm thrilled about the fact that we are finally in the process of designing and building a product that I've had in the Make Love Not Porn pipeline for 10 years, but historically never been able to find investors willing to fund it.
Right.
And it's been in the pipeline for 10 years because parents and teachers began reaching out to me from day one of Make Love Not Porn, saying, we love what you're doing. At Make Love Not Porn, as, the documentary to Porn's Hollywood movie, we are an 18 plus platform. And what parents and teachers were asking for was they desperately wanted help with the 0 to 18 and beyond phase of educating around sex. And so I had the idea for MakeLoveNotPorn.Academy 10 years ago because I characterize this as the Khan Academy of sex education. Because Khan Academy, the online tutoring platform, tutors on every other topic under the sun except this one. EdTech, educational technology as a category, is exploding, not in this area.
Yeah.
So I saw the need for, and I conceived the concept of Make Love Not Porn Academy many years ago because as I've worked on Make Love Not Porn, I've built up a huge network of brilliant sex educator friends all around the world who face all the same problems I do. Their content gets blocked on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Their accounts get suspended. They're banned from promoting and advertising themselves. And so I decided that what we needed was an aggregation play. So we are building Make Love Not Porn Academy on the same principles as Make Love Not Porn, user-generated, crowdsourced, curated revenue share to be the global go-to hub for the best of the world's sex education content that already exists. And the reason it's important to do that, Jane, is because our mission at Make Love Not Porn Academy is to organize the world's sex education information to make it universally accessible and useful. That is a deliberate paraphrase of Google's original mission statement, which was organize the world's information to make it universally accessible and useful, because today they don't. The algorithm is biased, it's censoring. Open, healthy sex education is being blocked, censored, and deplatformed everywhere. And so we want to effectively build the Google of sex ed. And we were finally able to start doing this because we launched our first ever equity crowdfunding campaign last year on WeFunder. It's our first ever because historically, like every other piece of business infrastructure, no crowdfunding platform would touch us with a barge pole.
Oh,
But
wow.
the wonderful actress Jamila Jamil is a big fan. She proposed she lead an equity crowdfunding campaign as our lead investor, and she brought us to WeFund her. So we are targeting just over $1 million US. We've raised 435,000 to date. And
430.
435,000 a day, yeah. And although we haven't hit our goal yet, what that's enabled us to do is to start designing and building the academy. We're in full educator outreach mode right now. And the way it works is we're inviting educators all around the world. And I use the term educator very broadly: sexual health and wellness expert, therapists, health professionals, podcasters, anybody informing and educating in any aspect of this entire area. So we invite them to share their own content, coursework materials, book videos, comic strips, whatever it may be. Now, we operate our unique human curation model, humanize, vet every educator, every piece of content before we publish it to make sure it's safe that we endorse it. And we're then going to make all of this easily searchable by age appropriateness. So if you're a parent of a 6-year-old freaking out because, oh my God, my 6-year-old just asked me this, what on earth do I say? We will provide the tools and content with which you can actually have that conversation with a 6-year-old. If you're a teacher of a class of 14-year-olds, here are your age-appropriate teaching materials. We'll have a ton of curricula, lesson plans, etc., for all ages around all of this for teachers and schools. If you're an adult, access all areas because adults are equally desperate. But the important thing about this, Jane, is that the academy will be where children and young people can access age-appropriate information without parental teacher gatekeeping. And the reason that's important is I have a friend who's a mother, and as you have to these days, she monitors her kids' browsing history. So this happened a few years ago. Her son was 8 years old, and she saw to her horror that on a family computer, he had Googled sex for children. So she freaked out, but did the right thing, stayed calm, sat him down. Darling, I happened to see, talk me through why. This anecdote is adorable and horrifying in equal measure because her son wanted to learn about sex. He was a child. He knew he was a child. He wanted to learn about sex in a child-appropriate way. He sweetly, innocently Googled sex for children. You can imagine what came back, utterly traumatized.
Oh, yeah.
And so the academy will be where an 8-year-old boy can enter his age on the homepage, and we will only serve him age-appropriate sex education content. And, the important thing with all of this, Jane, is that I'm out to prove concept. And what I mean by that is, for years people have said to me, oh, Cindy, you should go to schools. MakeLoveNotPorn should be on the curriculum. And I've always gone, no, I shouldn't. Because anyone trying to bring sex ed into schools comes up against Parent-Teacher Association, moral panic. But here's the thing. The people keeping sex ed out of schools don't know what it'd be like if they allowed it in. They just know really bad. In their heads, they have this abstract concept. Sodom and Gomorrah will ensue. When I can show you, when we take the academy live, what doesn't exist anywhere at the moment, which is the best of the world's sex education content all in one place. When you can see for yourself at a glance how brilliant, informative, educational, healthy, and non-threatening it is. When you can search it, as I said, by age appropriateness, by cultural sensibility. We'll have Christian sex ed, Jewish sex ed, Muslim sex ed, and importantly, by personal comfort level. We just aggregate, you decide, you pick and choose what's right for your family, your classroom, your school. That is when I think I can help get sex ed into schools. I'm building this outside the system to get into the system.
Which is really cool. You said something really interesting then, which kind of alerted me to one of the challenges of what you're doing. When you have all education, all faiths available, some of the faith-based educations aren't about sex. They're about not having sex. How do you manage that? How do you filter for that?
Sure. So first of all, as I mentioned, we curate for the content that we put on this platform. So we are only curating and inviting the very best of the world's sex education content. So for example, there is a married couple who run a website called CatholicIntimacy.com. And this is basically sex education and couples therapy. They have a therapy practice as well for practicing Catholics who want to be sure that they are operating a fulfilling sex life, but within Catholic teachings and precepts. And I actually really admire the way they operate, because while I don't agree with everything, on this platform, for devoted Catholics, this is a really sensible, balanced approach. So that's one example that we absolutely will feature. Our criteria for the Academy are like with Make Love Not Porn, broad. Okay, so on Make Love Not Porn, and just for our listeners' information, I designed this very unique model called the human curation layer on top of the internet, where there's no self-publishing on Make Love Not Porn. Our curators watch every video submitted from beginning to end before we approve or reject and we publish it. We review every post on every member profile, every comment, every video. We accept or reject and we publish it. But our criteria are set abroad. On Make Love Not Porn, your video must be legal, consensual, and real. Beyond that, anything goes, because we exist to celebrate the full glorious spectrum of human sexuality in the real world. On the Academy, your content must be educational, fact-based, and non-judgmental. And then everything goes. But we decide. So this is absolutely not about aggregating everything out there. This is aggregating the best of the world's sex education content that we endorse.
So the fact-based criteria, I think, is where that critical filter comes in.
Absolutely.
Evidence-based practice, right?
Absolutely. And it's startling to us, Jane, how, for example, I have a couple of members of my Make Love Not Porn tiny but mighty team who are parents. One of them, Abigail, spends a lot of time in parent groups on Reddit and other communities. And she was saying to us the astonishing amount of misinformation being disseminated by seemingly, sort of rational people, that is not fact-based, is really perturbing. So that's critical for us.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not sure which of your filters it falls under, but having a space where queer sex has its voice, celebration, and
that falls under non-judgmental, because for example, and actually this is this is why I'm so especially keen to do this. So importantly, we're inviting educators to use the Academy platform in any way that they choose, because we're completely happy to just, make people aware you exist and then send traffic straight to you if you rather capture them on your platform. And two contrasting ends of that spectrum. So I have a friend in the UK, Justin Hancock, who has a wonderful sex education site for anybody over 14, which is called Bish. And so we were talking to him and we said, listen, it's entirely up to you. We can send traffic to your websites. You can sell to them there, or, you can post content and sell your products off the Academy. And Justin said, I'm 45 years old. I've been a professional sex educator for 20 years. I refuse to spell the word sex, S-E-G-G-S, on the internet. Therefore, my account gets suspended all the time. He said, take it all. I'll post it all on the Academy. I'll sell everything off the Academy. If you can make me more money, yes, please. Now, at the other end of the spectrum is, because of the question you asked, the amazing Heather Corinna, who is the OG of online sex ed. They started the wonderful site Scarletine 25 years ago. Which is LGBTQ plus education, especially for young people. And in their case, they're a non-profit and they need to capture donors and donations. So we've agreed with Heather that we will feature Scarletine and we will send traffic to Scarletine So they can access their content on their site, but at the same time, they can capture them, and get donations and donors there. And by the way, Jane, one of the reasons I want to do this is because, as I said, Heather is the OG of online sex ed. And to have them tell me that they are struggling to pay their rent is just so goddamn depressing. My friends doing this work, because they face all the same challenges I do, they can't even make a healthy living doing this. They've had to take other jobs to survive. I want to change that because this is enormously valuable work. And there are many people out there who'd be dying to buy their books and their videos and their lessons and whatever if they only knew they existed, which they don't because they're really hard to find.
Absolutely. The idea of signposting a platform for what's good out there was something that I talked with my team about. I wish we'd met 16 years ago. It was about then. We were both having similar but different pathways to this world. Mine was because I spent an academic 18 months surfing porn and realized, oh my God, this is informing how people think and behave. Yours was much more hands-on, if I may.
Yep, absolutely.
And yet still here we are all these years later and it doesn't exist.
Oh my God, Jane, it's infuriating. If I had been able to raise the kind of funding I was looking for 16 years ago, I would have been able to have a much bigger impact on all of this. It's absolutely infuriating. The only thing holding me back is lack of access to capital, as it is all of us, by the way, female founders.
I work to fund Sex in Space. We're self-funded. So I hear you. Have you approached any corporate sponsors? I'm sure you have, but what's been the response, or is that something you don't want for this?
No, but again, carefully curated corporate sponsors. Yeah. So I have some friends in the corporate world who are doing excellent work. And I've approached them. One company, unfortunately, is going through some tough business challenges. So they've said they'd love to re-engage further down the line, but they can't right now. Another one has just had some management changes, but we've agreed that we will pick this conversation up in Q2, which will be next month. And again, these are people whom I know who come from the right place and who are actually in their own corporate roles trying to work to change all of this as well. So no, I absolutely welcome. With Make Love Not Porn, by the way, I concepted it from the get-go, as I did the Academy, to be able to have paying brand partners who share the same values and the same goals. I began talking to Reckitt and Durex like 17 years ago. Rather 15 years ago, even before I launched Make Love Not Porn. I've been talking to them for literally 16 years, 15 years rather, and they have always been too scared to push the button on a partnership, which is ridiculous. So unfortunately, in the corporate world, the unfortunately obstructive dynamic of fear of what other people think operates there as well. So it has to be the right kind of partner, open-minded and a mission-driven in the same way in their own sphere of operation. To help change all of this. But I'm absolutely doing that. And also, just so you know, I am also looking for grants and philanthropic capital and donations. So I'm partnering with, there's a wonderful organization called Inspire Access. You can find it at inspireaccess.org. It's a nonprofit founded by a mother and daughter team, Patrice and Leah Brickman. And what they want to do is, because this is possible and there's very low awareness of it, basically make people aware you can use philanthropic capital to donate through Inspire Access with all the attendant tax benefits, and then be able to channel that funding to for-profit social impact ventures from underrepresented founders who struggle to find funding generally. And so we currently have a partnership with Inspire Access. We're actually holding a webinar tomorrow to educate people about how this is possible. And we are, asking people to donate to fund Make Love Not Porn from their foundation, their charity budget, their philanthropic capital, because you can do that.
As a brand head from way back when, Did you contemplate spinning off a slightly different brand in terms of accessibility, with Make Love Not Porn sitting behind it, but the Academy having something that was a little more accessible up front?
No. And I've been asked that many times over the years, Jane, and here's the reason why. So, first of all, when I had the idea for Make Love Not Porn 17 years ago, as, there I was, having sex with younger men going, whoa, I know where that behavior is coming from. I'm going to do something about it. So, and I conceived it originally as a kind of public service announcement. I went, okay, I want to do this porn world versus real world site. I need to call it something. I need to find a name that is short, punchy, memorable, one where I can buy the URL, very important. Make love not war, make love not porn. That's about as much thought that went into it. Okay. Little did I realize that I now own the definitive call to action in this arena. Because every day, hundreds of young people hashtag make love not porn across every social channel, think they're the very first person ever thought of saying that. And there are a number of benefits to being called Make Love Not Porn. The first is that whenever I tell people the name of my company, it doesn't matter whether or not they know what we actually do. Everybody instantly understands why we exist and what our purpose is. Okay. Also, there is a very practical, useful application of this. So, as I spoke about last time, infuriatingly, we are banned from advertising anywhere. We can't advertise on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Reddit. I ask you, by the way, look at what's on Reddit. They ban us for advertising. Twitter, look at what's on Twitter. Twitter bans us for advertising. So we are banned from doing paid search ads on Google. But every day, all around the world, people search for Make Love Not Porn without knowing that we exist. And what I mean by that is the top organic search terms that send traffic to us are make love, not porn, real sex, not porn, video sexo na porno, make love, not porn, well, they don't know there's a company called that. One young man told me that he found us when he Googled porn that is not porn. He was so fed up with everything out there. What is something different? I had no idea what to search for. Fortunately, you search porn that is not porn, you find make love, not porn. First of all, that is how much the world wants what we are, the documentary porn Hollywood movie, and knows it needs us. But secondly, our name has been enormously useful in bringing us organic search traffic in a world where we are not allowed to target paid search traffic. And in fact, I had one investor say to me, I love the fact that, your name is the language that young people use.
Yeah, I guess with the Academy, that all of that benefit accrues and helps that side of things as well. It's that accessibility issue when you talk about for Christian, Muslim, Catholic, whatever communities. It's finding a way that they will find you.
Well, a couple of things to that. First of all, I already do this with Make Love Not Porn, and we will do this with the Academy. I have bought a number of different URLs to redirect to us. Okay. Right. Both with Make Love Not Porn, how to make love, how to have sex, etc. Right. And with the Academy, where it's been quite challenging because a lot of sex education related URLs already, taken. But I have been able to buy a number of URLs that have the word sex education in them, education in some form or other. Nice. Plus, we also own the URLs MLNP.Academy and MLNPacademy.com.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I mean, it seems like such a no-brainer. It feels like there was a moment in time where you're almost at a point where corporate could have gone there. And yet there's suddenly this seismic set of shifts going on around sex and sexuality. But globally, politically, it feels like they're probably stepping back again. Is that fair?
Well, here's what's interesting. To answer that question broadly first, Jane. The complete shit show that is the US government regime right now, where our personal freedoms are being rolled back rapidly as we speak, has actually made people really sit up and take notice about how much we need to resist that.
Right.
So, the backdrop to all of this is I was the very first person 16 years ago to stand up on the stage publicly at TED and identify this issue, that when we don't talk about sex, porn becomes sex education by default. Today, you cannot turn around without falling over a media headline going, oh my God, kids and porn. So, first of all, I mean, it's not good, but there is now a very wide mass understanding of exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay, and that helps. Secondly, the truly horrific way in which, for example, Andrew Tate is being championed as a god, has the endorsement of the US government, is being welcomed over here, that has so many people going, what the fucking fuck? And that is helping me, because actually all of that is forcing all of this out into the open and making people all the keener to support and realizing, how huge the problem is and that we have to address it. First and foremost, I'm looking to individuals to support and fund me, and as I said, I'm only talking to those corporate partners I know and trust, whom I know believe in the same thing. The one thing I've learned in 16 years of Make Love Not Porn is that it is only ever about the people who get it. And by the way, in that context, it's interesting. It doesn't matter what the company is. It's about the person within the company who gets it. It doesn't matter what the fund is. It's about the investor within the fund that gets it. And so I only ever look for the people who get it, because that's how I make things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with this funding round, you've set quite a meaty target. What happens in the meantime as you continue to work towards that target if it's not at the deadline you set?
Sure. So our We Fund is targeting just over $1 million. It closes on April 31st. So doing a big push to try and get as far as we can. But as I said, I also have this big push happening for donations and philanthropic capital. And so we have a webinar tomorrow that 200 people have signed up for, which I'm very happy about. That's a very good number, to learn more about it. And then we will have several weeks of pushing that out to see how much we can raise. And by the way, Jane, that initiative is specifically targeted at, in the first instance, women with wealth, as in women with a lot of wealth who tend to have the mindset that the only way you use that to change the world is through philanthropy. So these are people making very large donations, buying very expensive tables at gala dinners for good causes. And the game plan with Inspire Access, this initiative, is to get people like that to understand that you can donate equally as quickly and easily, but to a vehicle that then enables you to change the world even more by funding for-profit social impact ventures and helping underrepresented founders, female founders, founders of color, diverse founders as well. So that's focused on, minimum donation is $5,000, and we have various perks for the $25,000 level, the $50,000 level, and we will see how that goes.
Yeah, I guess from my end, I don't want my money back. I want you to have it. And go forth, So
and by the way, sorry, just to clarify, WeFunder is an equity crowdfunding platform. It's not like Kickstarter. We take the funding regardless. We don't have to hit the target. So no, rest assured, your money is absolutely going to help make the Academy happen. And the game plan with the Academy, by the way, is, if all goes well, we hope you're able to launch it in a few months' time as minimum viable product. We're going to put a bare bones MVP out there, because I think that once people see what we've built and how it's working, it'll be a lot easier to get a ton more support. We have a business model that's focused on subscription, commission on selling products for the educators off the platform. So the game plan is to start generating revenue from day one. And also, once it's out there, I think it'll be a lot easier to raise funding from a hitherto untapped pool, which is EdTech investors.
Yeah, that's what was in my head actually as the next question. So sort of, I guess, like as you say, a Google for sex ed or Wikipedia for sex ed that people can get into, which is really exciting. So with the way that would create revenue, how would that work for you?
Sure. So we have 3 revenue streams planned. The first is that we'll take a 10% commission on everything sold off the Academy. So that is people's books, people's, school curricula, courses, et cetera, et cetera. The second is we have a subscription model where you can sign up for a monthly newsletter. And the way this is designed to work ultimately, and I say ultimately because as an MVP, we'll have to go out with a one-size-fits-all model. But the idea is that eventually, you subscribe to our newsletter and you can say, for example, I'm a parent of a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. And then each month you will get the latest educational content, educators for those age groups. And, as the year changes, that will elevate to the next 12 and 9-year-old. As a teacher or a school, you can sign up and you will get, education, classroom, school specific. Here's the newest curriculum that's on the platform. Here are the latest advances in, et cetera, et cetera. But in the first instance, this will be a monthly newsletter that makes you aware of the latest in content, the newest educators on the platform, et cetera. And then the third revenue stream is we actually plan to create our own Make Love Not Porn educational products and sell them on the Academy ourselves. And that's because, for a start, parents have been writing to me for 16 years, and I've been giving a lot of advice, which they found very useful. And so I plan to video a mini masterclass of me providing this advice across a whole range of different topics and questions. Also, what's very important is we want to be sure that we are providing cutting-edge education for the unfortunate very large number of new issues that are arising because of the speed of technology and the internet. We are absolutely, again, sourcing the best educators out there on this front. But we think we will probably need to create some of our own on sextortion, intimate image abuse, to make sure that we cover off everything that is arising right now because of the speed of technology and the carelessness with which the white male founder platforms are operating, because they don't give a shit about the harms that these can cause people. So we will also, as I say, have a third revenue stream from our own products. And it's worth highlighting that one of the things that I want the Academy to do is to be a safe space for educators to develop and sell or provide for free educational content they would love to develop, but have not historically because there would be nowhere to distribute it. And what I mean by that is, for example, age-appropriate sex education for young children. So imagine Cocomelon, but for sex education. Okay, and when I floated this idea with parents, they said, "Oh my God, yes." What they said is, "I would love to have something that I can sit my kid down with on the iPad that is the springboard for me to then have a conversation off of it." So the ability to, again, create an entirely age-appropriate, safe education. At the moment, that is not happening because you would have so much trouble being able to, get it to people. It's a bit like the Academy will be global. So I have a wonderful friend based in India, Paramita Vohra. Her background is filmmaking. She started years ago a company called Agents of Ishq. I don't know if you're familiar with them at all.
No.
Right. So Ishq is the Hindi term for love and desire. And Agents of Ishq creates culturally appropriate, sensitive sex education for India. And it's amazing. They do things like they make videos that spoof Bollywood musical numbers to deliver messages about consent. Phenomenal. Every time they produce something new, I share the shit out of it. But I said to Paro one day, this is many, many years ago, I think your work is amazing. Why do your videos only get 30,000 views on YouTube?
Yeah.
And she said, because I can't distribute them anywhere in India. And so she is absolutely, she and her amazing work is going to be featured on the Academy, because imagine the appeal, not just people in India, but the entire Indian diaspora worldwide, of sensitive sex education by your community, for your community.
Yeah. That's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Well, I mean, it can't happen soon enough, really.
Well, yeah,
And so
exactly.
our audience is diverse, but what's the call to action from your end for our listeners?
Sure. So, call to action is, first of all, if you like the idea of the Academy, go to MakeLoveNotPorn.academy. We have a holding page at the URL. You can actually sign up to be put on an email list to be notified when we are able to invite you in. We would absolutely love everyone who can to help fund us at wefunder.com/MakeLoveNotPorn. Minimum is $100. Every little helps. Also, we welcome educators from everywhere. So, if you're an educator, or an educator who should be featured on the Academy, do have them email us at cindy@makelovenotporn.com, very easy to remember, because, as I said, we're in full educator outreach mode at the moment, and we want to make sure we have the absolute best on the Academy when we take it live. And also, I would say, do spread word of this within parent groups, teacher groups, anywhere where you can aggregate people who would love to have this available to them, who can also, all chip in something to help fund us as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like another analogy, sort of an Uber for sex ed. You can kind of see where they are and pick up, and it's appropriate to you and your world. It's really nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the idea of the sex masterclasses too. I don't know if you've ever hopped on and had a listen to any of the masterclasses on that platform.
Sorry, the reason I heave a huge sigh when you say that, Jane, is that I have very dear friends who know people that have been trying to get me onto Masterclass for literally years. And Masterclass, for whatever reason, in fact, actually, one friend told me that the response was, "Oh, but we already have Esther Perel and Emily Morse." And I mean, my God, we are talking about the universal air of human experience we are all most engaged with, most fascinated by, and most fucked up about. First of all, dollar signs all over that shit. And secondly, you cannot have too many masterclasses of lots of us coming at it in different ways. You don't go, oh, we've taken care of sex over there with those two.
No, and it's democratized by whether people choose to watch or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Crazy. That's crazy. Well, maybe what listeners can also do in that case, or viewers, is send your email request to the Masterclass platform for them to feature.
Absolutely, yes.
That would be a really good idea. Just work hard, everybody. It's the easiest thing to do, an email and also donate. But definitely, just activism is required in this day and age, right?
Absolutely. I love that, Jane. Absolutely.
Mm. Cool. Is there anything we haven't talked about in relation to the platform today that you would like to talk about, highlight, draw our attention to?
I think we've covered all of it. I think just, it's so important because, everything is being censored on the internet more and more and more, and we are going backwards as a society when that happens. And, what that means is a very unhappy future for humanity. I've been saying for years that Make Love Not Porn operates in the single biggest market of them all. Not sex, not porn, the market of human happiness. We are talking about the area that has the ability to impact your children's happiness more than anything else, all of our happiness more than anything else. And it is so critically important that we open up around this, not shut down. So I mean, that's why I would love everyone listening who agrees to help support us.
Absolutely. And I can't think that there would be anybody out there listening, or indeed anybody out there, who hasn't had challenges when it comes to sex education.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's pretty universal as a challenge.
Yep.
And so this platform, 10 years in the making, and there are a lot of people out there who've wondered how you would go about finding what is good. It's an essential service. So also, anybody listening knows anybody who's got lots of money.
Yes.
Or,
Yep. Ship them my way, please. Cindy at MakeLoveNotPorn.com. And they
again,
can donate. They can donate. They can make a grant, as I said.
yes, but also activism is required.
Yeah.
It's an antidote to the experiences that we're having, and it can feel overwhelming, but you can do something.
Yeah.
So get online, email, talk to friends, have a conversation. This is a critical service for everybody. Let's do what we can to help it happen.
Thank you so much, Jane. I enormously appreciate that.
Oh, it's been a real pleasure.
We did want to add a quick note in here at the end of the podcast to let you know that if you are interested in sending an email to Masterclass about having Cindy Gallop on as a speaker, we've made an email template which you're very welcome to use if you don't want to have to write your own, and the link to that will be in the description of the podcast. We really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Before we sign off, we wanted to ask you for your help. Because we talk about sex, we keep getting shadow banned across a whole bunch of social media platforms. And that not only makes it hard for people to find us, but it sends the message that sex isn't okay to talk about. Not only is sex okay to talk about, it's totally essential, because more knowledge equals better outcomes for all of us across a whole bunch of different measures. You can make a difference, and what we need from you is your active support. So please follow the podcast and consider checking out our social channels too: Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever takes your fancy. You can find us at sexandspace.com and click on our social links from there. Help us make sex an okay space. Thank you for taking the Sex and Space trip with us, and until next time, safe travels, and we'll see you on the next intergalactic episode.